Has James Gunn ruined his public perception? I mean, he has made some very iffy calls, questionable calls over the last few months, overtaking over DCU. Once a young and up-and-coming director, had major success early on, helmed two successful movies for the MCU, and showed his talents in the galactic side of Marvel. The Suicide Squad and Peacemaker were huge successes for DC, both critical successes. Peacemaker was the highest-rated DCEU project ever. And then, now as the co-CEO of DC Studios, got rid of Henry Cavill, and at least isn't letting Henry Cavill come back. So a lot of people are pissed at him now. A lot of people want the DCU to continue despite how it has had its shortcomings. And now it seems like the average DC fan is kind of pissed off, irritated, and feeling a little, I don't know, mistreated maybe, or feeling like a little uneasy about what the future road lays ahead. And I am right there with you. Now, I'm not on Twitter attacking James Gunn because that's not going to solve anything. But I'm not on board with everything he's done, even though I am a fan of the Suicide Squad. I liked Peacemaker. I didn't think it was the greatest thing that DC's ever done, like a lot of people else did, but I liked it. And I really liked the Suicide Squad. It's maybe in my top 5 DCEU movies, but it's not in my top 3. And I got a lot of flack for that last year when we put out our DCU ranking list, and people were like, oh, how do you not put James Gunn's The Suicide Squad and Peacemaker? It clearly is number 1.
We'll put a link to that for you guys in the description so you can see it if you want.
I'll tell you why. Because I liked Man of Steel better, I liked Wonder Woman better, I liked Shazam better, and I liked Aquaman better. I just like those characters more. Now, that's just my opinion. You're totally valid to say the Suicide Squad's number 1. I totally could see why. It pushes the boundaries. It's got great characters, great story, great action, all of it.
Good visuals, all of it, yeah.
Yeah. I just like Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Batman better. That's just me. Now, I wouldn't say that everything James Gunn and Peter Safran has done in this DCU early stages has been totally out of left field. I kind of saw some of it coming, and some of these things that they've been doing the last regime wanted to do or had already done. But we've seen a lot of questionable decisions, and we've also seen him come out on Twitter and debunk false claims, which I myself do appreciate to an extent, because as far as hearing things like, oh, Wonder Woman's not a part of your plan, he came out, quickly addressed, no, of course she is. He came out and said, oh, is Batman not going to be a part of your universe because the Batman and Matt Reeves? No, Batman's going to be a critical part of our DCEU. And if he hadn't came out and said those two things, that two members of the Trinity are in fact going to be in this DCU, then I probably already would have stopped paying attention. And I think a lot of other people would have as well. However, I do criticize the fact that, like the previous regime, him and Peter Safran have failed to address any of the Ezra Miller drama or the future of the Flash film franchise, and the Flash is my man. Flash is my favorite character, so I want to know what's going to happen, of course. They don't owe me an explanation, but I just want to fucking know. As of right now, Eleanor, in your opinion, and just keep that in mind, everything I've said is my opinion, your perception of James Gunn currently to this day. How are you feeling?
I think he hasn't totally ruined it. No, I don't think. But I do think his public perception is far worse than it has been in quite some time. He did have some controversy in the past that we're not going to get into. But he recovered from that. And I think some of that, it's all just old news at this point. But I personally think that Twitter has gotten too big as like a quote news source. And I think that James Gunn, not just James Gunn either, lots of people need to stay away from using Twitter as their platform to be a news source or to answer controversy. Because I think it makes things messier. Twitter has always just been a very messy website. It's always been known for having drama and having controversy and stirring the pot, and sometimes it doesn't make things better, it makes things worse. And I think in this case, there are some times, like you said, where he clears things up. But I don't think that needed to be done on Twitter. You could have had a press release. You could have had like they have these people that do, what are they
PR
called?
teams.
Yes, PR teams. Thank you. Public relations. You could have your PR team release a statement for you. It seems more professional, and it can get your words out there to the news outlets directly. And, it denies all these things without going through Twitter, where everyone, every Tom, Dick, and Harry can leave their comments about it and say, no, this isn't true, or no, this isn't true, and everyone can debate it, and it just gets bigger. So I personally, if I were James Gunn, I'm not James Gunn, and again, this is just my opinion. If I were James Gunn, I would pull a Peter Safran, and I would go quiet on Twitter.
Yeah, because look at Kevin Feige.
Right, and in the past, Twitter has not been good for several people, including James Gunn. It has burned so many people. Twitter, the things that you say on Twitter will come back to bite you in the ass. It always will. And it's done that for so many creators, so many people in the movie industry, music industry, you name it. Politicians, anyone. It's come back and it's bitten them. So all I'm saying is Twitter has always been a dumpster fire. Don't add gasoline to the dumpster fire. Just close your laptop. If you have something where you're seeing this and you're like, no, this isn't true, gather all the information you need to, give it to your PR team, have them make a statement for you. Comes off so much more professionally, and it may not be answered that evening like it would be on Twitter. You can deny it that evening, but the following morning, your fans would then know through the Hollywood Reporter, through Deadline, through whoever, that no, this isn't true according to a PR statement from James Gunn. And I think it would come across a lot better. Granted, the thing that he is doing is smart from a business standpoint, because look at James Cameron. He gets a little messy right before his movies come out, gets us all talking about James Cameron. People go see Avatar. He makes buco bucks.
Right.
It's very smart. So, like, Paris Hilton said this, and I've always thought it was good. Like, good advice from her. One of the small things, but that she said was, even bad attention is good attention, and it gets you the attention that you want for your brand. So she always said, people can hate on me on Twitter or whatever, or they can hate on me on YouTube or whatever site that they're hating on Paris Hilton. She's like, but they're still staying at Hilton Suites. They're still buying my clothing brand. They're still doing this. So, I mean,
that's a good point.
He is getting DC's name out there, but I just don't know if it's the kind of attention that DC should be garnering, because DC's already had this type of negative attention in the past. And if you don't want to have a community that is riddled with, toxicity, anger, sadness, all these negative feelings, I think that being a little more professional, a little more low-key about it might be better. Though I do think something his PR team and him do need to address with Peter Safran and maybe even David Zaslav is they need to definitely tell us what the hell is going on with Ezra Miller. Because we all thought that Amber Heard was a problem. Oh, no. Ezra Miller has blown it out of the water.
Oh, and by far.
I mean, and not getting into all of that they've done or the mental health issues, any of that, because it is very sad and I hope they get help. But I just don't think that that's a good look for DC either. And they need to...
For a superhero.
Right. And they need to address it. Are you keeping this person around? Are you not? What is going on? Give us an update on that. Sure, cool. Wonder Woman's going to be in the plan. I never doubted that Wonder Woman was going to be in the plan at some point. But what the hell are you going to do with Ezra Miller? That's the important thing. Instead of tiptoeing around that when there's a giant elephant in the room and being on Twitter and avoiding that, we need to address this and get off of Twitter.
Confirming and debunking everything else but Ezra Miller.
Right. And that's why I'm thinking, is Warner Brothers saying don't say anything?
Probably.
And if so, that's also a shady-ass move from Warner Brothers. And my message to David Zaslav is, if you want a better look for your brand, be upfront. Be honest. Say what you're going to do. Because people appreciate honesty more than they do secrets. Even if the honest truth is something that is not what they want to hear, they appreciate hearing the truth over being lied to. And so I'm just hoping that at some point they will come out with this. And Twitter has just always been messy, so I just don't think that it's good for James Gunn. I just really hope that, let's learn from the past of many other people in, like, their past mistakes, and let's move forward. I mean, let's get off Twitter. Let's just...
At least until you can give us an announcement, until the DC
Right.
fandom can take a breath
Let it mellow out a little bit.
and give us some insight and knowledge into what we're going to be getting. Because right now, all you're leaving us to do, and some fans who feel more like you and even are more angry than you, feel like he's kind of trolling on Twitter.
I
he's
can see that.
nitpicking
Yeah.
and answering things that he wants to add to the speculation when he wants to, and then debunking things that he knows is going to get out of control. What
say
about
there-
the Ezra Miller thing? Isn't
Right.
it getting out of control?
There's one person I say who can troll really well on Twitter and gets away with it, and it's perfect, and it's Ed Boon from Mortal Kombat.
Right.
He's great with trolling on Twitter, and he does it appropriately, and he doesn't have all this shit that he has to avoid
And it's just
either.
once in a while, too.
Right.
It's not every day or
I feel like
every week.
James Gunn is just I can see why people think he's trolling, because it definitely does sometimes feel like this is like, are you laughing at us? This is almost laughable to you. Like, why are you... Obviously, you're seeing all these tweets because you're answering random people that have like 3 followers, people that aren't famous, that don't have a verified blue check mark. So you're answering these random people, and you're not answering everyone's questions. People will say, "What about Ezra Miller?"
Some of the bigger
crickets.
questions.
Crickets.
But I will say in his defense that I do like a leader that is willing to go into the fire despite how hot it's going to be right now of all times, and debunk some of the crazier rumors like Wonder Woman's not going to be a part of your plan, like Batman might not be part of your plan. I do still want to hear more about Superman. I still want to hear more about Justice League. I still want to know, is Zachary Levi going to stay on as Shazam? What's going to happen with Jason Momoa as Aquaman? Is he going to be Lobo? I still want to keep him as Aquaman. I think, honestly, by the end of this year, we're going to know about the future for all of these characters. And unfortunately, for some of them, it might be before the release date of those films. And for everybody other than Ezra Miller, I think that's undeserving. Because you look at Justice League, the theatrical cut, everybody knew Ben Affleck was out as Batman. He was not going to be directing and starring in the Batman. And that totally dampened kind of the vibe of going in to see that movie
Right, 'cause you're
for
like,
a lot
well,
of people.
This is the last time I'm seeing Ben Affleck. This sucks.
You do that for Shazam and the Fury of the Gods, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, it's going to damper the feeling going into that movie, the hype to see those characters, because you
Especially
know
with
you're never going to
Aquaman.
see them again, and it's not set up to be a finale. It's set up to be the sequel.
Right.
For The Flash, I don't even want to know. Maybe they can continue on with a different character and just... who knows if it's a Flashpoint storyline. I think everything is kind of riding on that movie depending on how the story's written. A lot of people are speculating maybe they push it back to, after Blue Beetle, if Blue Beetle's part of the DCEU. Maybe they push it back after Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. That way the end of the DCEU would end on Flashpoint, and that way that franchise would basically end on a reboot, kind of like if they ended the X-Men franchise on Days of Future Past, for instance.
I think that would be the smartest thing to do. Flashpoint kind of did reboot in a while.
Yeah, it did. It
did cause
rebooted and
rebirth.
launched. Yeah.
And
Or New 52.
right. And so I think that would be the smart thing to do. But unfortunately, I don't think they're going to do that, because when we hope for the smart thing with the DCU,
But-
it doesn't happen.
Do we also want The Flash to get pushed back another 6-7 months? No. At least I don't.
No, because then at some point there's going to be something else that happens in between.
Don't even start. Don't even start.
We hope not. Knock on wood, y'all. Knock on wood.
Yeah, all I could say in James Gunn's defense, because I am a fan, is that I do appreciate him confirming and debunking some of these things. I do think he should stay off until he has an announcement to give us. Maybe work on your script more before debunking all of these things and tweeting as much as you have been. But the question is how has all of this affected the perception of James Gunn? There's always going to be the Marvel fans that don't care about anything he's done with DC, so they just judge him off of his Marvel work and his previous work. Then there's the DC fans that are agreeing with every step of the way and disagreeing with every step of the way. And then there's the people that are like me that are somewhere in the middle, I think. I do think that right now, James Gunn, his perception has been damaged, but not beyond repair. I think that him and Peter Safran can lead this to a good place, but it's going to take a lot of hard work. And if anybody can pull it off, other than Kevin Feige, it might be the two of them because they've done great work in the past. I just don't necessarily agree with all of their methods at the moment, but I'm okay with waiting and seeing for a little bit. If they want to give us a year with no DC films, that'd be really shitty. But if that means we're going to get high quality films after and they're going to be pumping them out at a steady pace, I'm okay. I don't know. What do you think of that?
I do agree with you. I think he has damaged his public perception, but I don't think it's irreparable. I think, you can still come back from this. And even if you don't get off Twitter, I think he could still come back from this. And I think, if they are going to give us better quality movies and you need to take a year off, then do so. Because I would rather have quality over quantity. And if you can get me a year off, but then give me quality and quantity, double thumbs up. Then I'll be there for it. But I'm just hoping for the best.